Hi, my name is Caroline, and Ashley and I examined how regional identity influences opinions on changing the names of Confederate-named schools. Debates over the removal of Confederate symbols often center around if they represent Southern pride or racism, and we were interested in examining how impactful Southern identity on this topic actually is. As such, we hypothesized that people who identify as Southern will support changing Confederate-named schools less than those who identify as Northern. Previous research shows that symbols like Confederate monuments and battle flags can invoke collective pride for the in-group or shame for the out-group. To explore this, social identity theory provides a theoretical structure to research the impact of in-group identification on attitudes towards Confederate symbols, specifically schools. Since previous research focused very little on schools, the evidence we found shows mixed support for regional identity's influence on support for Confederate symbols in general, and also found that racial identity is more influential on these opinions. Using 31 questions from a larger survey, where a Qualtrics panel selected participants that were over 18, high school graduates, and lived within a 50-mile radius of Mechanicsville, Virginia, we found respondents' regional identity through self-reports of them being Southerner, Northerner, or neither, using questions such as, would you say you were a Northerner, Southerner, or neither? And their racial identity through self-reports of being black and white, such as the question, how would you describe your race/ethnicity? The study had a sample size of 750 people, 444 of which identified as Southern, 127 identified as Northern, and 171 identified as neither. Additionally, 501 self-identified as white and 171 self-identified as black. We then conducted multiple ANOVAs to examine how these variables interacted with the support for changing Confederate school names and the support for Confederate symbols in general. Overall, in both cases, we found that while regional identity is marginally significant, racial identity has a higher statistical significance and influence on support for changing Confederate symbols or school names, which is congruent with previous research. Specifically, the influence of race and regional identity on opinions of Confederate school names had a statistically significant p-value of less than 0.001, and the influence of regional identity and race on the importance of changing school names had a statistically significant p-value of less than 0.001. In addition, we found that Black Southerners are most supportive of changing Confederate school names, followed by Black Northerners, then White Northerners, Black Neither, White Southerners, and finally the least supportive of changing Confederate school names, White Neither. Future research should explore possible influences of gender identity and political identity on support for Confederate symbols. Finally, it is also important to focus on future research efforts on the impact of Confederate-named schools on students, specifically on students of color.